Nothing in the gate bias.
Out there today, history could be made. Or at the very least, an entry in a list that has seen a British absence for 60 years. Because if this team wins just one race today, they will win the Louis Vuitton Cup and become the challenger for the 37th America's Cup. The last time a British campaign made it to the America's Cup match was in 1964, when Anthony Boyden's Sovereign that was representing the Royal Thames Yacht Club. It didn't go well. Facing the New York Yacht Club's Constellation, they were thrashed 4-0. But let's not get ahead of ourselves, because if Luna Rossa can win the next two races, they will be on an impressive comeback. The Italian team knows what success and defeat feels like. They've been there before. They've also had the king of comebacks, Jimmy Spithill, at the helm, in a rock-solid partnership with co-helm Francesco Bruni. Overall, it's difficult to think of two tougher nuts to crack than Spithill versus Ainsley, legends of the sailing world facing each other. But for now, today could be the day that defines the next step on the road to the 37th America's Cup. This was another familiar pre-start, with Ineos Britannia setting themselves up to dive across the bow of Luna Rossa and get to leeward to control the run-up to the line. They looked early, but as the clock counted down, both boats were spot on and at pace. The next few seconds were familiar too, as the British started the squeeze from to leeward, forcing Luna Rossa to tack off. From gaining a narrow advantage, the whole of the first beat was about defending that position by the British with precise, perfectly executed tacks, holding the Italians back and bouncing them out to the right-hand side of the course. By the top gate, the British were 10 seconds ahead, 9 by the bottom. Up the second beat, the sparring calmed down a touch, as Ineos not only controlled the match, but benefited from the left-hand shifts in the breeze. Once again, it was 11 seconds at the top gate, but on the downwind leg, Luna Rossa were able to haul back some distance. And as they split with Ineos Britannia through the bottom gate, the British went into a defensive mode again as the game closed up. By the top, and for the third time, it was really close once again, just 4 seconds. But Ineos held their nerve and defended well, pulling off a perfectly executed tack right in front of the Italians. On the downwind leg, the British had stretched out once again, doubling their narrow lead to 8 seconds. The final lap did nothing to relieve the pressure and tension, and while the Italians did all they could to create a passing lane, the British were too strong and took their 7th win. This was a special moment, a historic moment, and a crucial step along the road to the America's Cup. And if you're a British supporter, today was the day where you could start to dare to hope.
In a while, look, it's a massive day for our team, and I'll say how proud I am of everyone, not just here on the water, but also back on the shore here in Barcelona and back, we've got a lot of people back in Brackley in the UK, helping us on the technical side, so this is for the team. Massive effort to get us proud and so pleased for everyone to fit in. And for all of our fans and supporters here back in the UK, like you say, it's a massive moment.
Yeah, no, so proud of how the team's delivered and been
it feels like we've been building momentum and bring on the Kiwis. And so I'm just so delighted for the whole team. But before signing out, I just want to say a big shout out to Luna Rossa. They're an amazing team, huge history in the Cup, all the way from Patricio, Max, Jimmy Ikeko and the rest of the team. They're incredible opponents, and like I say, huge history in the Cup. And we expect this won't be the last time we have a big fight against those boys. Yeah, it's pretty unbelievable to be sat here, to be honest. A lifelong dream, and maybe just the right amount of badgering Ben to get an opportunity. So just feel incredibly proud and really just very lucky to have that opportunity, and just looking forward to showing what we can do in the America's Cup next weekend.
Well, it's obviously a very tough moment for me personally, but for the whole team. I think we did an amazing job as a team, and we just didn't deliver it in these finals. But I'm very proud with all we have done, and I just want to thank everybody on this team. They've done a fantastic job, really.
Yeah, well, firstly, I'd really like to congratulate Ineos on just a fantastic final series. And, when I look at the organisation, when they started the prelim regatta to where they ended up here into the finals, I really felt they made the biggest improvement amongst the challengers. So to Ben and Dylan and, the entire team, my hat's off. Really, congratulations. To our team, just what an incredible campaign. Design, engineer, sure, athletes, had an amazing boat, great team. As Keko said, we just could not deliver during this final series, but very, very thankful to all the fans, and very tough for the team.
You've learned a lot throughout this whole series so far, but what would you say would be the biggest learnings that you've taken from this final and the route to where you are now?
I think it's really the decision making under pressure, because it's so hard as a sports team to get that, and that's why, again, hats off to Luna Rossa. My God, they pushed us hard through this final, and we'll be so much stronger for that. Both the decision making of the team under pressure, but the performance of the boat, again under pressure. We've really had to ramp up the loads that we're putting through the boat, the performance of the boat to get this victory. And without that, we'd be a lot weaker going in against the Kiwis. And the communication on board the boat between you, Dylan, and indeed the rest of the team has also ramped up as well, hasn't it? Yeah, it really has. I'm proud of the whole organisation, but the sailing team, how they've stepped up, learned through this series. Hats off. Big thank you to our coaches, Robbie Wilson, Zabby Fernandez, Ian Williams, for really doing the hard yards, analysing the performance. How can we make the manoeuvres better in the right place, get off the start line in decent shape. That's a whole team effort. And you've got a very impressive trophy cabinet. How will the Louis Vuitton Cup compare? How does that feel? How does that compare to what you've got already? Yeah, it's a big one for us. I think it's a big one for British sailing. It's 60 odd years since we were in an America's Cup final, and a big thank you to everyone that supported British sailing and British America's Cups, not just this go round, but many cycles over the decades of supporting British sailing and British America's Cup. This wins for those people. Dylan, were you in the pre-start today? Were you surprised that they didn't come at you a bit harder?
I guess we've studied the playbook of Luna Rossa Pride of Rally a lot, and we definitely prepared yesterday. We spent a long time in the sim looking at different options that they could do. I think they did push us quite hard, and I think that it will be interesting matching up against the Kiwis, and obviously they have a different playbook to the Italians.
Conditions were quite different to what were forecast. How difficult did that make it this morning when you went out and getting the right setup for the day?
Yeah, we had a difficult call initially with the mainsail. Certainly saw a few different forecasts for today. Thought it could be light. There was one forecast saying it was going to be 20 knots. I think that's Barcelona to a T at the end of the day. You never know quite what you're going to get. But the team did a great job. We got the right sail call, and paid off in the end.
After the race, both you and Ben both talked about how hard you've been pushed by the Italians. And in some ways, with all due respect, we expect you to say that anyway, but it did actually look like you were. Do you think that you've learned a lot more than you expected out of this final?
I guess that you just saw the distances and the times between the yachts at the end of the races were incredibly close. It was the closest I think any of the yachts have been in reality for that number of races this cup, or maybe for a couple of cups. They certainly did push us very hard. It came down to the fine margins, and we had to find a lot of performance compared to where we were in the prelims and the round robin in order to win this final.
Jimmy, aside from the result, how different was this cup to the last one?
It was closer, and I mean that from my feeling is the fleet is closer. I think last time the Kiwis were a big step ahead. And in our finals that we in the semis and finals, we went through somewhat, you could say, it wasn't as close. Well, this one has been a real fight, the whole way, through the semis, through the finals, and even we saw in the preliminary regatta that, that it's close with the Kiwis. So, yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how it plays out.
How much more pressure do you think they're under, or do you think they've been able to learn from watching this close racing?
Well, they've definitely been able to learn from watching the racing, certainly seeing all the data and the performance numbers, etc. But the great thing about sport is that there's nothing like real competition, and I've been there as a defender, and it's tough when you're sitting there on the sideline, you're watching this close semi-final racing, close final series. The performance and the learnings you get as a team during those moments are just huge. You just can't emulate that sort of preparation. So for the British team, for Ben and his guys, they're going into it as well prepared as I believe they can be. They are battle hardened and ready to race. But the Kiwis are unknown. We don't know what they've been doing for all this time, and I've got a huge amount of respect for them. They will be very tough.
We suspected right from the start that reliability, because of the complexity of these boats, would play a big part. Unfortunately, you were on the wrong side of that line a few times. I just wondered, going back to sort of the main sheet Traveller failure that you had, whether that then compromised your ability later on.
No, I don't think so. Look, I think our team just did an amazing job of that boat. It was a fantastic boat. And really, we had the opportunity to get it done. We had the opportunity to win races. We had the opportunity today to go out and win a race. And ultimately, we were beaten by a better team.
One of the fascinating things about covering an America's Cup is the way that it draws you in. It becomes your daily routine for weeks, often months on end. You exist in a bubble with a daily procedure of race, rinse, repeat becomes your routine. And it's pretty intoxicating. But there are also days that change with a jolt, days that mark a distinct shift in gear. Today, it's one of those days. The end of the Challenger Series is a key moment in any America's Cup cycle. The point at which two teams get inked into the America's Cup history books, irrespective of the results. But today is about even more, because the country that will now challenge for the Cup is the one that's famous for its loss 173 years ago. And that alone makes it a big story. It's also significant because this is only the third time that a challenger of record in any multi-challenger cup has made it through to the America's Cup match itself. And no challenger of record has ever gone on to win the Cup. So while the British task is still a tough one, their achievement so far is outstanding, especially as at the beginning of the event, the team didn't look like it would get this far. Back in August, many had Luna Rossa as the favourites. For the Italians, today is a crushing blow. Straight after today's race, Jimmy Spithill and Francesco Bruni were quick to congratulate the British team as they bow out of the 37th America's Cup. As they do, I'm left wondering whether the damage of breakdowns they suffered along the way played a part in compromising their performance later on. For example, did the main sheet Traveller repair allow them to haul in as much load as before? I ask because it looked like they'd lost a bit of their ability to squeeze up wind, something that had been a strength before. I also wonder whether the design space across all the teams was much closer than we originally thought, leaving the main variables as crew work and reliability. This would tally with the British rise to the top. Ben kept saying that they were just learning to sail the boat better. And so far, Britannia has been reliable and robust. Whatever the reason, the team has done exactly what Ben said they'd be doing by developing their boat, their team and their performance day by day. And today they've made history.
With skipper and CEO Sir Ben Ainsley.
Sheahan Fletcher.
Back in August, who would have dared to think that the British Ineos Britannia team would have become the challengers for the 37th America's Cup? But they've done it, they're here, the Cup's next on their agenda.
You've got to be in it to win it, and we're in it! Yes!